This is all gold right here. What's up, boys? We're here. The State of the Paddock, episode 1. Some last minute first episode. You know, we're missing a co-host because all of a sudden he's doing the 200. So we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about certain things. We're gonna talk about Daytona. We're gonna give our predictions, and we have a guest co-host that is behind the camera right now. He will come out shortly. With me, Jackson Action Blackman. The guy I say runs the ridge because he wins. That's all he does. He might come back to racing. Who knows? But we're gonna get straight into it. That's what you're here for. We're just gonna talk about some things, have some fun, and we're not trying to offend anybody. It's just some guys talking about the track, and that's it. That's all we're doing, boys. Hopefully this helps bring out some names of people in the paddock. You know, and we're just trying to grow the sport in any way, shape, or form. So let's get right into it.
Yeah, I guess I'll just give a brief introduction. I'm Jackson Blackman.
They know who you are.
23 years old out of Rock Hill, South Carolina, and I've been racing in MotoAmerica since 2016 and had some success in Junior Cup, KTM Cup, and Twins Cup over the years, with most of my career being running a privateer team in Twins Cup on a Yamaha R7. And after a few injuries and a few setbacks, ended up turning into a videographer at the MotoAmerica races at the start of last year at the 2024 season. And after meeting John and discussing how we feel like there's not a great platform for this sort of thing, we decided that we would make that and take a step into making that connection from the paddock to the fans and riders and just everybody involved with MotoAmerica and racing in general, and put it in simple terms. Like, as John's a little bit newer to racing, I've been around for a while. Not saying I know everything and all the ins and outs, but I've been around for a little while and have some insight, maybe more than the average fan. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
And that's it. And then we're missing one co-host, but we'll talk about him later. So we're diving in quick. Right, we're here in Daytona right now. Time of recording, it's Wednesday night, 10 p.m. because we're hustling. Tomorrow, first day of the 200. It's a weird feeling. I'm not gonna lie, boys, because it seems like not a lot of entries. You know, I think it's close to half of the entries of last year.
Yeah. It's looking at, there's 36 entries for Daytona 200. And looking at last year is quite a big jump at looking at, wow. Well, actually, it's hard to get it. There was 2 groups last year where it's 1 group this year. So I have to do the math, but I'm pretty sure it's somewhere around 70 range.
So how does that work? Does everyone just qualify this year? Or?
Yeah, actually, I believe so. I think that they'll start... don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure that they'll start at 36. That all of them. But I still think that there's a time limit, time restraint on like lap times.
Okay.
But it's not where they're running out of track, like room on track. Where last year there's so many bikes they had to put it in separate groups for safety.
Yeah. Damn. So, if you guys wanted to do the 200, you missed your shot. You should have come this year because not a lot of people are riding.
Yeah.
Something big. Obviously, it seems that all the money is going to one class, but it's a very exciting class, the newest class. Well, not the newest class because there's a new class this year, but anyways, we're talking about the baggers. Big moves in the off season. This is kind of what this show is about. We want to talk about moves that are happening. We want to give our opinions on what we think about those moves. So, Jackson, I'll ask you. 2 teams added a 3rd rider. Go through that a bit.
Yeah, it's pretty wild to see how the King of Baggers class has evolved over the last few years. Seeing names like Kyle Wyman and Tyler Hara being the kind of start of the class, I'd say, for Harley and Indian. And then expanding to 2 rider teams. With Rispoli in there last year. and Troy Herfoss coming in from Australia. And this year, it's pretty interesting to see both factory teams go with a 3-rider lineup, bringing in Bradley Smith on the Harley Davidson and Loris Baz on the Indian. And we know that that's always been a huge rivalry, even outside of racing, just as in manufacturer. And it's pretty interesting. I haven't seen a lot of Bradley Smith's most recent results. I have seen his past results and him, featuring in races in MotoGP. But I haven't seen a lot, recently. So I'm very curious to see how he's going to do, especially on a bagger, being that I'd have to say, much different than anything any of these guys have rode prior. And then the same thing with Baz. I'd say Baz has a little bit of upper hand on Bradley Smith, as that he just ran all these tracks last year. So that's got to be a bit of an upper hand. But I'm very curious to see how that's going to play out, and the more riders will make the challenge races more exciting. So, I believe it's the top 6 that make it into the challenge race. So it's going to be a lot harder to get into those spots, to compete for the money race. That's the $5,000 for winner takes all in the challenge. So that'll be exciting.
Yeah, it's so in your opinion, going back to like the sport terminology, because that's where I'm from, right? So we have a winner of the off season and a loser of the off season. So of those both trios, who do you think won in their selection, and who do you think is going to have a better year this year? This is the questions that I will be asking. As the outsider, this is the information you want to know. Who won? Put it in the comments. What do you think? Did Harley win or did Indian win? Who went first? That's another. I don't know who went first. My money's on Indian.
Who will win?
Who won that? If you're Harley, if you're Indian,
it's hard to say, because it's like, I'm not sure who had more testing days.
Okay.
I don't know how Bradley Smith looks on the bike or Loris Baz. It's just been announcements, so it's like, it's really a toss-up.
Sure, but if you had to give a guess.
If I had to give a guess, just seeing what Harley Davidson puts in to the program, it's hard to go against them, and knowing that they lost the championship last year, I feel like that puts more fire under them for this year. So, I would kind of be leaning towards that route, but I also feel like Loris Baz is a great rider, along with the other 2 guys as well. So it'll definitely be very interesting to see how it plays out.
Jackson's giving you a political answer. I'll give you a legit answer. I think Indian won. I don't know. You're coming from Baz. He had a full year on a super bike with the factory Ducati team. Right? Is that the factory Ducati?
Yep.
I'm asked sometimes, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying.
HSBK.
But the factory Ducati team, Heron as his teammate, these tracks are fresh in his mind. And, last year Troy won, so the bike's a winning bike. I think Harley's it's gonna be a great battle. I think it's great for the series. I think it's great for MotoAmerica. It's just super exciting. And also, we can't forget, one of the both Vance and Hines riders are legit. But I think Rocco's also going to have a crazy season, because he had a great season last year, and he's a kid, and he's just only going to get better. So that's also someone that I don't think we can forget.
Yeah. We were strictly talking about the factories there, but we have to mention Hayden Gillum, Rocco Landers on the Harleys, and we have to mention Cam Peterson entering the class on the Indian as well. I feel like any 3 of those guys is more than capable of being up at the front with the others, depending on how these bikes are going to stack up to the factories.
And here's another question for you. How do you think Max is going to do now that he went from Indian, now he's on Harley?
It's hard to say. Again, I don't know all the ins and outs of baggers. I've seen, the differences in the bikes, just from what I can see and what I've heard from some of the riders, and just seeing the results and lap times throughout, the last few years. But I know Max has had some pretty good runs, especially in rain or mixed conditions. So it'll definitely be interesting to see that difference, and also to see if the Saddleman team can bridge that gap that they've had. I feel like all the guys on the team are fast and capable riders, But for whatever reason, Saddleman hasn't quite been to the same level as Revzilla team, Vance and Hines, and then also the factories. So,
All right, now I'm going to put you on the spot. This is the first round. Who wins this year, King of the Baggers?
who wins what? Like the challenge, the race?
No, who wins the year? Who's the King of the Bagger?
The championship.
Yeah.
Man, you get me in trouble. I can't like.
No, it's not in trouble. I'm asking. This is what you guys want to see, right? I'm just asking a question. Doesn't mean he hates some of you. I love all you guys, but who do we think's gonna win? This is what makes us different from all the other podcasts that maybe we gotta watch out what we're saying. We're just trying to talk. Some guys having a conversation, and that's it. We don't mean to offend anybody. Prove us wrong. It's just we're just having a talk. This is it. But I'm gonna put him in the spot. And I'm going to put our next co-host in the spot, too. So he better be getting ready. Who do you think's going to win? Do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
I think Troy's going back-to-back.
I think Troy gets back-to-back.
Troy won his first year, and I think he's only going to get bigger. Bigger, better, faster, stronger. He's been training. I follow him on Strava. I started to bike a little bit. And he's biking a lot.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think he's going back-to-back.
Man, it's... Okay, so it's... I'm going to go with more wild card, right? So he's going a little more safe. Like, there's some good facts behind that. And again, I feel like it's a toss-up. I don't think in any circumstance it's going to be a big gap, you know. But I think that Rocco looks really good. I think that he's coming off momentum at the end of the year. He's kind of a slow riser. He's feeling comfortable on the bike, you know, getting a whole another season on the same platform with the same crew and the same bike. And just how much they put into that program, I think that he could be a title contender. And I think that he showed at the end of the year they had the pace. He's a little bit younger. He's kind of got, you know. Now also could come with that is maybe some mistakes that we also saw last year, you know, so it's a little bit of a wild card. But I think that if he has a good start to the season and is able to take the points when he can and not right over his head, I think that he can also have a really good season. And, I mean, also... he's the only guy on the list that I've actually raced against, so I'm not trying to be biased. But I have seen him in some moments where he's been really fast, and I think everybody else has seen it on TV, you know, with him winning a race last year. So it'll be interesting.
And then okay, so we went for overall championship, but I kind of skipped over a question. Who do you think's going to perform in Daytona?
Yeah, Daytona is always hard.
Yeah.
Because it's a drag race to run. Like, I don't think anybody's gonna, you know, nobody's really gonna walk away here.
Is it whatever bike survives? Why does it make it so hard? What's so difficult about Daytona?
So at Daytona, for those of you that don't know, at least on a Twins Cup bike, we're wide open for like over a minute, which is a long time. I promise. You got super sport bikes reaching 180. I think the baggers like over 185, maybe pushing 190 last year. It's just a fast track, you know, and they actually have to run the chicane because it's too fast and they can't make a tire hard enough to run more of the banking just because you're wide open for so long, the tire gets so hot, you know. And it's just always a run to the line because even if you're bad out of a section of a track, if you're just within length on the draft, you can pull all the time back up. I mean, on the Twins Cup bike alone, I know I've been back almost half a second and been able to pull up by the time we get into the bus stop on the back straightaway. So it's really hard to say. I mean, I'd honestly go with some of the lighter riders, the smaller guys like Rispoli, Kyle Wyman, are good filling that bike. Although Harley has had some motors go on this track in years past as well coming into the season. So I mean, nobody really knows how their motor is going to hold up on the bank until we get here. So it'll be interesting. And Cam Peterson, I know he's looking really fit and light right now. I think he lightened up for Super Sport. So it just depends on how that bike is performing. So, I mean, it's really hard to say, but I guess if I had to put, you know, money on somebody, I don't know, man. I mean, if I was a betting man, I guess when we look at the list.
Well,
you know what?
I'll give you my answer. I think Troy's going to win the overall, but I think Kyle's going to take this one. I think it's his track,
I was about to say, Kyle.
Look at him now, just saying what I say. Come on, man. Can't do that. This is. Expect this all year. I'm gonna put him on the spot, and he's gonna give me an answer.
You know, I'll go Rispoli.
Rispoli?
Yeah.
I think he's gonna have a big year too. We're not skipping Rispoli. He didn't have the
I think
best
he
year
might
last
be
year.
feeling a little like now they went from 2 riders to 3. He's in again. He's locked in.
Yeah.
You know, I think that he knows now, especially with 3 guys on the bike, you know, it's like, you know, time to perform. And I think he's always had great results, but now kind of getting more time with the same crew again, I think is big. And, you know, hopefully have a stronger start this season. I know he had a couple mechanicals and some other little glitches last year, but, you know, I think that when he's in his right headspace and the bike's working good, that he'll be up front.
I mean, last year was his first year at factory. And then maybe, you know, in like other sports, maybe when you don't have all the attention on you, you can just ride. You know, you can perform your best. Because his new teammate has a lot of attention on him, you know, because that's a big deal. So maybe Rispoli proves us all wrong, and maybe he's the person to take the series. All right, so that's enough. Good enough for the baggers for today's episode. Now we're moving on to, what do you want to move on to? We covering.
Sorry, we're hearing some weird little sounds because our Airbnb's haunted.
We're shooting today's episode in a haunted Airbnb. So if you guys never see this,
if you guys find this, pick up these cameras.
it's because we're dead.
Oh my God, I didn't know what to say like that.
Well,
imagine you see like the orbs like going through the screen.
The first episode in the haunted house, you know. What else can we do?
All right.
We're going to now. What do you want to talk about?
Let's switch gears. Let's go Hooligans.
Okay.
It's kind of on a similar vibe, you know, some of the same manufacturers. There is a lot of bikes on the grid. So this is one like the Daytona 200 last year. They had to split into 2 groups. And I mean, just looking here at the list, I mean, Corey West, the returning champ, Corey Alexander on an Arch bike. That's big.
Is he doing? Oh, I didn't know he was.
That's big. That's different. And if you don't know Arch motorcycles, that is a motorcycle brand. I'm not exactly sure the level, but it has involvement from Keanu Reeves, which I'm sure people know that name. So that'll be very interesting to see how that works out. Dominic Doyle returning on the Yamaha. Maybe they've got that bike a little more developed. Last year, you know, it had some signs of success, but never really pulled out like a good result, a good finish. We got Hayden Schultz, Cody Wyman, and James Rispoli on Kyle Wyman's team. That could be pretty big, seeing Rispoli come to a Hooligan bike he hasn't rode before. That'll be definitely very interesting to see if they've kind of, I wouldn't say really closed the gap, but just found some consistency, because those rounds that they were all fighting for the win, and those rounds like Mid-Ohio last year, that was just like a nail-biter, 10 bikes in the lead pack all the way to the end. So it'll be very interesting. You don't really see a lot of KTMs this year. Andy DeBrino switching from the KTM to the Triumph this year. It sounds like he's feeling better on the bike. That'll be one to watch. Jake Lewis, you know, the whole Salmon team, they had a really great year last year in the Hooligans. You know, definitely better season than in the Baggers. So I feel like they're going to be up front. Yeah, it's really hard to say, you know. It's a toss-up. I wouldn't even know who I'd bet money on in this one.
Give me 3 then.
Give you 3?
The betting man.
Obviously, you can't go against Corey West.
Yep.
Returning champ on the Harley.
Okay.
I would. You know what? I would throw.
For the next episode, he's gonna know his picks, because I'm gonna ask him all his picks.
All right. I'm gonna throw Rispoli in there.
All right, I like it.
He's a new one.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to glaze him, because I just picked him for one of the baggers. It's not just because I'm filming for him. I promise. And I'm gonna go with my boy Hayden Schultz.
All right.
I raced with him for a while in Twins, and he had some rounds that he was right up at the pointy end of the field, and I see him always training, working hard. He's doing it for the boys that are at home working a full-time job and still showing up and racing.
Yeah.
So there might be a little bias. You know, there might be a little bias there.
You pick on who you like or who you feel, or that's who you put money on. And I think some of you guys can put money in. Don't quote me. You can bet MotoAmerica. I think they're very specific rounds depending on the state. But, you know, maybe this guy makes you a lot of money. I don't know.
I do not condone gambling.
Or maybe you lose a lot of money.
I can say I've tried my hand on some sports betting and I've lost every time. So I don't really plan on doing it anymore.
So maybe bet opposite of what Jackson says.
It seems that anytime I bet on somebody to just continue on the same trend they're on, they all of a sudden fall off the face of the earth. So, and that's why it's called gambling.
It is.
But I do want to throw in there, I think that I can list some guys that will struggle this weekend.
Okay.
I think one of them being Jake Lewis. Can't help it. He's a tall guy.
Yeah.
It's going to be harder for him at Daytona.
Yeah.
He still can draft, but it's not going to be as easy. Mm-hmm. Now, don't come at me, Jake. I'm not calling you a big boy. I'm just saying you're tall. Okay, I know that's been a thing in the past I've heard. And I definitely know that ain't true. He's definitely in shape. You know what I mean? Yeah. But he's tall. Uh-huh. And that doesn't help. Guys like Cody Wyman, you know, I think will do well. I think Dominic Doyle will do well if the Yamaha's running good. Uh-huh. That same motor is in the R9, you know, so maybe there's some development going on there. And then really the one that's the question is Corey Alexander on the Arch. I have no idea.
Yeah, walking in the paddock, just the team looks impressive. There's a lot of people in that pit right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
they got a
nice.
proper. Yeah, it's proper.
It's proper,
effort.
Man. I don't know how he's gonna ride. I don't know how the bike's gonna perform, but it looks real good. The whole package looks lit.
We should do that on each class. Who's got the lit kit?
All right, the lit kit. We both agree on.
Yeah.
That. The lit kit for the Hooligans, Corey Alexander, without a doubt.
Yeah. You gotta see it. Watch this weekend.
So then we gotta go back. The lit kit for the bagger class.
Lit kit for the baggers. I think the Harley boys are looking pretty fresh. Did you see their new suits and stuff?
And I like how they also like all the Harley boys. I think they're all like.
I think it's hard to beat the 2023 Jackson Blackman Twins Cup livery with the half blue, half pink. It was pretty hard.
Number one always. You're all fighting for two. But no, that's a cool cat. Corey's got that in the bag. Just watch.
This where you gotta put a picture of my kit in.
Alright.
This
boom right here.
Somebody's street racing. You hear that?
Haunted House, street racing, Daytona.
DeLand.
2025. DeLand, that's where we're at?
Yeah.
DeLand. All right, moving forward now to Twins.
Yeah, let's save Super Sport for last.
All right. Well, we got Superbike too, but we're not going to talk about Superbike. We're going to talk about it next week on next week's episode because we don't have anything Superbike related. And we're going to not try to do such a long video so you guys can keep watching. But anyways, yeah.
Hopefully we're entertaining. Hopefully you've made it this long.
If you've made it this long, we appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And hopefully you haven't offended a bunch of people.
Man, I hate it because I know a lot of the riders and I'm never trying to put nobody down or it's not like there's nothing personal in it.
No.
But there's only one guy who wins.
Sure.
You know?
But that's in life, you know.
And it could just be their day, you know. I've had my days and I've definitely had my, not my days.
And I think not as the outsider, right? Like my first year in MotoAmerica was last year and I'm trying to break some of the tension, right? Because it's tense. You don't want to say something because you offend something. But I think, unfortunately, that's what this sport is missing. Because every other sport has that. You have a person that's just talking what he thinks. He could be wrong. You can agree, you can disagree with him. But we don't have that in our sport, right? Just because, as you can see, it's even tough for us because we have bonds with people and we don't want to offend it. So that's not the point of this show. The point of this show is to maybe bridge the gap that all other sports have, where some people could just sit in a chair, talk about who they think is going to win, who they think is going to perform, why they're going to perform, why they're not going to perform, and maybe we're wrong. Prove us wrong. I'm not saying you have to prove us wrong, because who the fuck are we? Well, that's Jackson Blackman, so you know who he is. But you know what I'm saying? So that's where, like, and in the first episode, you keep hearing me reiterate this, because I want you guys to understand why we're doing this and why we're just telling you what we think is going to happen and who we put our money on, or who you want to put your money against, because he's always wrong.
Yeah. Hey, also, I just thought of this. We should do something where each class we pick out who we think would win in a fight. Like who we think is like the strongest.
Now it's
you know what I mean?
interesting.
Because I was just looking and I was like, I obviously see John works out. You know, he's got the build. So I was like, obviously in this matchup, you know who you put your money on. But like all these guys in their suits, it's kind of hard to know like what their build's like or how the aggression level. So I think it'd be interesting to bet on who you think will win in a fight. You know, like the top after the weekend, like the top 3 each class, who you think would win in a fight. You know.
Okay, that's what we're going to do. The top 3 performs, and then on next week's episode, we're going to choose who would beat whose ass. I love it. UFC.
Hey, you comment below who you think will win in this fight.
Please. Come on.
John, you probably bench. How much you bench?
I don't bench that much, man. I'm all about legs.
Yeah, I can't even lift any weights, man. My shoulders are bad.
That's
my excuse, at least. I'm sure I'll get flamed for it anyway.
I'll just grab you and pin you down. No homo. I'll just pin you down, and that's it.
Pause.
Pause. Anyways, moving. We got
all right, off topic.
Off topic.
John was just fantasizing about pinning me down. Anyway,
he's thinking about touching me this whole time.
We gotta cut this out, man.
It's all going in. No cuts.
All right. Let's go to Twins.
We're back. Twins.
We're back.
We're back.
All right.
I'm
So
not cutting shit up.
For Twins, this is definitely where I'd say I had the most knowledge. Like I feel the most confident and comfortable speaking about like technical terms. So this year, what I think is big is that the Yamaha gets to run the KTM throttle bodies, which are bigger. Don't quote me on the exact size, all right? Because I don't want to get super technical terms, all right? But I do know that they're definitely a few millimeters bigger than a bored out Yamaha throttle body. So with that being said, more air, more fuel going in, should be more power in return. And that's one thing we always worked on with our bike, you know, trying to get them as big as we can, you know, and the best way to do it would be you could do a taper, you know, at the end of the throttle body, you can only get to 41 millimeter, but on the outer, you can get up to 43, and you can run a taper without getting too deep into the pockets of the throttle body. So, it'll be curious to see on the banking, and then also last year they got R1 injectors, which is supposed to gain maybe a horsepower or 2 as well. Now, I'm not sure if the Aprilias are running the new model yet or not of when they've gotten that, because Aprilia's new model they came out with has even bigger throttle bodies. So it's almost like they knew what was coming and went one step further. The Yamaha's been always kind of playing catch up to the Aprilia of kind of where it's coming out stock. The Yamaha coming out stock at maybe somewhere around 70 horse, and by the time we're done with it, it's pushing over 100 horsepower. So it's getting full pistons, rods. You can even do a small half mil overbore, cams, timing, back cutting, micro polished transmission, boring out the throttle bodies, stacks, air box. You're throwing everything at it. You know, you get down adjustable offset triple clamps, different rear linkages. I mean, the bike's barely R7 at the end of it. So, where the Aprilia, yeah, they're still modifying it and making it a race bike, but they're not doing near as much. So, it'll be very interesting to see how it plays out. You know, seeing Don McDoyle return on the R7. He's ran up at the front and won races last year, so I'll be curious to see if these changes. Oh, and not to mention with the KTM throttle bodies comes fly-by-wire. So, which means that the electronically adjust the engine brake mapping much easier. So that would be huge as well because Aprilia comes stock with that. So with that being said, I think the Yamaha could be a lot better this year. The Suzuki Gixxer 8R was brand new last year, so now they've got a full year of development on the bike. So it'll come out fast. And then, of course, Alessandro Di Mario, the champion from last year on the Aprilia, that's kind of tried and true, always been fast up at the front since I've been racing the class. Returning, I think that'll be hard to beat. Last year it was kind of a walkaway with the Aprilias, but it was Suzuki's first race. And, there was some problems with the Yamaha. So, yeah, I mean, John, who's your pick?
I have
Based off that.
no idea what he just said. I was just nodding. But
Hopefully I didn't bore everybody.
No, yeah. I don't think so. He said a lot of important stuff. This is for the racers too, Who's my pick for the Twins?
You need to see the list.
I need to see the list.
All right, while John's researching.
Oh.
While John's doing a little...
You're going to put your list? You're going to say...
A little research. I can pretty much put my list. I'm going to say... I might be slightly biased, being that I always ran a Yamaha. And I like to see how they're pushing the bikes and developing them. I would like to see Dominic Doyle do well. However, I think that it's going to be really hard to bet against DeMario, being that he is so young. Even though he won the championship last year, I think he's still really hungry. He's on the same year, a second year with the same platform, same team. I think that's huge. John, you gotta help me out with I just realized I've got a bad going. Okay. This first podcast. It's our first one, so cut us a little bit of slack.
Yeah. Not too bad.
So,
how do you think?
Also, honorable mention would be Matthew Chapin.
I was about to ask you that.
Getting into the class on the Vance and Hines bike, and after Rocco had kind of developed that bike. Yeah. I think that he will be strong. He's younger guy. He had a couple of good runs last year. So it's tough, but I'm going to go up at the front. I think the pack will be Dominic. It'll be DeMario, and I think that Chapin will be in there as well. I'm unsure about Levy Batty and
Isaac.
I'm sorry, what's the girl's name? I'm not familiar. Do you know how to? I think it's Eliza.
Belen.
My apologies if I'm pronouncing anything wrong.
Yeah.
They are new to the class on the Suzukis.
On the Carnes. Yeah,
on the Carnes Suzukis.
And I have a teammate now, Isaac Woodworth.
And Isaac Woodworth.
Yeah.
Making a appearance into the class. So, yeah, that's kind of a toss-up. I know that I saw where Levy Batty had good runs in Junior Cup. So, yeah, it'll be curious to see. Now you've had some time. You're on the spot.
I think the Twins Cup is like the least knowledgeable pick that I'm gonna make. So I'm gonna pick them based off straight. I know them, or they have a cool name. So the Batty, picking him because that's a cool name. He's a Batty. Pause. I'm gonna take that off.
He might be a minor, John. Did we check?
I thought I was gonna hit.
Wait, does this look weird if I sit like? Oh, it looks weird.
I thought I was gonna hit when I said it. It didn't hit, but I think it's a cool name, the Batty.
All right.
Anyways,
he's still cool.
I don't know. My boys are Avery, so Dreyer. So I kind of would like to see him on top.
I messed up.
What?
I'm cutting you off. I forgot to mention Avery back. Some things fell through, I believe. I don't want to put any information out there wrong, but I believe that he's actually going to be riding R7 this weekend. I'm not even sure that the entry sheet says that.
Breaking news.
So that's a little breaking news, which is not really that breaking. Everybody's going to see tomorrow on track. So I don't feel like I'm saying anything wrong.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see. I've seen him go good on R7, and he's actually rented and raced one of my bikes in the past as well. So that'll be curious to see. I'm not sure whose bike or what level the bike is. I know the R7s is you have to be on a fast motor. There's definitely good and bad motors. And especially at Daytona, you need something that's reliable and fast. Yeah. That's for sure.
So his problem is he keeps growing and he's getting really, really tall. But
yeah, that's not going to help here.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see how he does. But last year he had a lot of crashes. So I just would like to see him up there. Isaac's my boy, so I'm gonna pick him. Andrew Way, I'm gonna pick him. And I think Chapin's gonna surprise a lot of people because he's on a winning bike and on a winning team. Levance and I's team is performing extremely well. And then the only one that I don't know if you're that familiar with, because he was not that up last year, Romeo Chiavini.
I've heard of the name. Yes.
I'm curious to see how he does this year. He's on a brand new team.
As well as John Varsky, who actually I've raced with way back in the day in KTM RC Cup, who is a stunt rider and is really good at that and really fast on a road race bike, downhill, mountain bike, and everything. I've seen this guy just kind of shred everything. So I think that with him on the right package, could do very well. The R7 is a very hard bike to ride. Yeah. It's unlike any other bike I've ridden. And again, I'm not saying I'm a long-time superbike guy that's ridden all kind of different bikes, but out of the bikes I have ridden and raced, the R7 has been the most difficult to get a good setup that I felt comfortable on.
Yeah, what interests me about Romeo, however you say your name, is because he's Italian. As an outsider, maybe you could talk about it a little bit. Europeans just have a feeling that they're here, and American racers are here. Maybe it's the training, maybe it's how quickly or how young they can start, the accessibility to the tracks, the difference in pricing, and then just with him specifically last year, he had a lot of bike issues. So I'm just curious to see if he's on a good bike. I think he's gonna be up there.
Yeah, no, it's unfortunately, especially in the Twins Cup class, it really comes down to having a good bike under you. Obviously, it's still the rider. If you put two guys on the same bike, it comes down to the rider. But if you don't have a good platform under you, and obviously he said if you have a lot of mechanicals, a lot of issues, it's really hard to show what you can do when you're not comfortable and confident on a bike. So it'll be I'll be curious to see how everybody stacks up, and especially here, if there's a big pack, in the draft, and guys are just dive bombing, it's not really going to matter about who has flat out pace, but who's the smartest and who plays a strategy and plays the run to the line, like we'll see, in the Daytona 200.
I'm going to give one last shout out in this class to my boy Gino Angela. Older guy running with the young boys. So, shout out to you, man. You're living life, bro. Car racing, and he's still getting out on the track, and he's here in Daytona. Living the dream.
Yeah.
That's all we can do. Living the baller life. I'm going to scratch that baddie comment, though. That was bad. All right, moving on.
All right, well, there's one class left.
One class left?
That's the big one.
Everything's still recording, right?
Yep. That's the big money.
All right, so finally, what you've all been waiting for. What we're all here for. The Daytona 200. I'll ask you, who do you think's winning at the end? Obviously, you better say you're our co-host, but forget about it. Let's see what we're going to talk about. First thing, as I previously mentioned, the class is half of what it was last year.
Yeah, and again, we aren't we'll be up front, like I said, with some of the regulations of the Twins Cup class, right? Like, I have a good idea of the different changes that were made. However, I'm not going to say I know down to the rule book exact, right? So last year, we're figuring about half the grid, right? I wasn't able to get it pulled up on the spot here exactly, right? So we're talking relative terms.
Yeah.
Just want to be clear of the air. We're not rule book cut and dry down to the.
This is not that. This is not that show.
Yeah.
Don't quote us.
But we're in the ballpark.
We're close. There was a shit ton of people last year. There's a little bit of people this year. Take it how you want.
Yeah, 36. 36 this year on the entry list.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. There's some changes of manufacturers for riders that are returning. Guys like Peter Hickman and Richard Cooper coming from the BSB circuit that now have a year of experience under their belt after last year being their first go at the Daytona 200. I think they will only be better than last year after what they've learned, being that pit stops is a big part of this race and managing that. Josh Herron returning from his win, that obviously is a big story, and there's not really much question in that team's ability or the bike. Michael Dunlop coming over and racing a Ducati this year is interesting to me. And the American tracks are obviously a lot different. You don't see a lot of these guys come over here and just kind of kill it, at least at Daytona in particular, being that I don't think there's a racetrack over there with banking like this. There might be tracks with the elevation and something similar, but not. Daytona's its own animal. And as we look down the list, we got Tyler Scott and Richie Escalante. Richie Escalante has had 2 years of bad luck, running out of fuel and a questionable crash. And another year, right towards the end of the race, both times looked like he was in contention. So I'm sure that he's looking for a good result. As we move down the list a bit, Shane Narbonne is one that sticks out a little bit to me, that he's always ran good here. A guy from up in New Hampshire, I believe, always runs the Loudon Classic. Kind of shout him out. And yeah, Jason Farrell as well is one of those guys that's had some good runs, and if everything holds together. But honestly, the main guys I'm looking at here is Josh Herron, Richie Escalante, Ty Scott, Danny Eslick, 4-time winner, and then all kind of coming down to our co-host, Brandon Posh, 2-time Daytona 200 winner, coming off of last year going not so well on a different manufacturer, on a different team, and after kind of a big change this year, he is no longer with that team and put together a very last-minute effort and is back with the team that he actually has won the race previously with on a bike that he's previously won on, the Triumph. And I think that he's got a bit of a fire under him. There's already been a lot of talk about this on social media, etc., that you may or may not have seen. But I actually am good friends with Brandon, so maybe I'm a little biased, but we were teammates in 2016 on the KTM Cup when he won the championship on Access Racing. And yeah, I would really love to see him put in a good result. And I know that he's here to prove a point. He is here to win, as I know anybody is, but definitely after speaking with him, he's here on his own dime, obviously with help, and with the team. But, he's here to kind of prove a point and show what he can do on a kind of tried and true machine.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Yeah, I think not just because he's our co-host. I think he's dangerous right now because he's hungry, and he has something to prove, and you know, like a lot of you know, because he's posted it on his socials, and relatively speaking, people know who's gonna ride for who this upcoming year. He doesn't have a ride, right? So this is kind of his last chance, maybe, to show someone, hey, I should be riding Superbike or whatever he wants to ride, right? So I think he's a dangerous rider because it means more to him because, he doesn't have a ride coming up after this. So, yeah, I think, and he's a two-time winner, back with his old team. His kit's looking sick because we skipped the kit for the previous, so we got to go back to that. The big guy I'm also looking at to have a good 200, a great 200 is Escalante. I think it's also, not that he's owed anything, but I just think it's his time, right? He's had bad luck, and I think he's a great person too, just not a rider, because this isn't just about riding, but I think sometimes people, it's their time, and he puts in the work. He's on a great team, and so I think he's up for a good finish, right? And I actually do think he might win. I think obviously you're gonna think Heron's gonna win. You're gonna think Escalante has a good chance. Brandon Posh has a good chance.
M4 is coming off of a few mistakes they have made in the past, and I mean it's not like other teams haven't. Josh Heron ran out of fuel in one of the stops in the previous years, but even Brandon last year, fuel can't. Not to cut you off, but yeah, it's very interesting, and it's very much a team race, unlike any other races this year.
Yeah. You could be the perfect rider, but also this is a special race of the year, not just because it's the first one, but because there's a lot of factors that aren't just the rider. The team has to pit well. Everyone's got to be locked in, and I think it's 2 pit stops, right, or just 1?
2.
2.
It's 2.
So not just once, twice. So, and then I saw Escalante run Daytona with the ASRA Race of Champions. So I do believe that, that extra opportunity to get your laps in Daytona, I think are really going to be beneficial come this weekend. Because also, another guy that I think is going to do well, because he did well during the ASRA weekend, is Lemandry. I think that's also a name that I'm looking to. And then obviously Tyler Scott as well. And then I think those are I think I picked 4 or 5. But yeah, man, I think it's gonna be like how Brandon won in 2021.
It's gonna be
It's gonna
run to the
come
line.
to the last lap to the line. There's gonna be 3 or 4 names, and we'll see who wins. But yeah, of everything, I really hope that I think Escalante is due one. So I'm looking forward to see how he rides.
Yeah, no, I agree. And another thing that's interesting, like you're saying, this class or this race in particular is like tire choice, tire management. Yeah. It's not just outright pace, but how can they conserve their tire? Are they going to try to save some? Are they going to try to save some time in a pit stop and not do that last front tire, that last rear tire? It's going to be very interesting to see. And then also Gus Rodeo is going to be running a Ducati this year, so it'll be kind of interesting to see where he stacks up.
Yeah.
I believe this is his first year running it, so coming off of some wins in Twins Cup, so he's kind of making that jump. So I'll be curious to see where he stacks up as well.
So who wins the kit for the Super Sport?
Honestly, I'm not even trying to be biased, but not even just Brandon, but the TOBC livery I've always liked.
Yeah. Something about the white.
I like the all white. Yeah,
the white's
it's clean.
Sick.
I'm sure that the mechanics don't love it every time it comes in.
Yeah.
Because I've had a white bike before, and it's not. Yeah, it's clean. Tires are black. The fireworks white.
Just because, and also nowadays you're used to black, so seeing the white, just oh damn. Look at these. It's like the white glove treatment, you know? Like, oh, shit. You don't even want to touch it.
Yeah. So that'll be pretty cool to see. And also, it's a really cool story, with the very unfortunate passing of Michelle Lindsay that ran that team. I personally had known her, and she's an awesome woman that involved in motorsports and ran that team. And I know always kind of look forward to this big race. Like, this was like their one race a year. And so I think that's got some extra motivation involved. And I know that they want to do this for her, So I think that really means a lot. And, being someone that knows what it's like, with the loss of someone, I can only imagine what they're going through. And I'm sure that they are going to be, at their best. So.
We got to go back real quick. Who's the lit kit for the Twins Cup? Is it the lit kit?
The lit kit award.
Lit kit award for the Twins Cup.
I'm gonna go Demario.
Demario. Okay.
I like the factory looking Aprilia, and the graphics. I don't know if you've seen them, but they look good. They look good. I know last year at least they had like the holographic.
Wasn't Gus on it last year?
Yeah, and Gus does stickers and stuff. So I know,
Shout out to Gus Stickers. GRD Designs.
Yeah. Actually, maybe at the end of the episode.
No, put right now.
Yeah.
Right now, because we're talking about it.
Yep.
No, but we're not gonna do a disservice to Gus. It looks like this because Jackson ordered it 3 months ago and never picked it up. It usually looks nicer.
Yeah, it's a little bit crumped up, but don't worry, the stickers are in great shape.
The stickers are good.
And also, if you guys want a sticker, come find me on the weekends.
There you go.
And I'll get you hooked up.
Yeah.
Aside from that.
Yeah, so I think that's pretty much covered. We're not forgetting something because we don't have our third co-host, but we're not going to leave you stranded like that. So he was kind enough to join us on the first episode. He's not racing the 200 because he says he would win. So he's letting someone else win. He didn't really say that. I'm just saying it. But anyway, so I'm gonna give him my spot so he could talk with Action Jackson Blackman. So please, are we gonna do like clap effect or something?
Please welcome our guest at the very end of the podcast, just to put him on the spot.
Just to put him on the spot.
It's Mr. Ashton Yates.
Woo!
The ghosts are clapping as well.
Imagine they start clapping.
We might have to angle the camera up. It's a lot taller than John.
Would you hook this on me?
Yeah.
He is a lot taller.
Does it work on my shirt too? Or?
Yeah. Or on your chain. Or just hold it, Now you're good.
It'll just be quick, kind of. We're just putting him on the spot. So I'm just going to give a quick introduction. For those who don't know, Ashton Yates, 2024 Superbike Cup champion and racing the Stock 1000 championship, finishing third on the year in the class.
That's right.
And planning to, I don't know, I'll let you talk about this year's plans and what you got going on.
This year we're going to come back to Stock 1000 and do the full season, and really want to try and have a solid year this year. We got I had a good year last year. I got some solid results and kind of seemed like it was just starting to ramp up there in the end. And, we're going to have a new bike this year and 2 bikes actually. We're going to do Superbike as well as Stock 1000, which will be pretty interesting. And, I'm excited about it, and I kind of know what my package is looking like and love everyone that works with me and works around me and on my bike. And, obviously my dad's my crew chief, and him and my grandpa are involved, and just a great circle, to work around. And pretty happy, and have been training all off season. We're ready to go. Got a month left, and it'll be here before we know it.
Yeah. Now we're going to talk the juicy questions.
Ooh.
What the people want to know, right? So if you're a betting man, who you got for the 200? Who's your top three? Who's your front pack? You know, if you don't want to give one, what's your front pack? And if you need to look at the entry list, I have it available.
Sure, I'll just do a little glance just to make sure I don't leave anybody out. But
that's what everybody wants. That's the big talking point. It's John. Do you know the payout exactly? Do we have that on hand? Don't worry, our director is pulling it up now, so we'll have that just shortly if he could figure out how to use a phone.
So obviously, I'm sure Josh is going to be up there. Last year they kind of had their shit together, and the whole Ducati team did a pretty outstanding job. I mean, the past 2 years when it came to the pit stops and and then Josh putting in the laps and shows his experience and why he deserves to win around Daytona. But I definitely see Richie being up there. I think it'll be Josh, Richie, Tyler Scott, and Brandon will be up there. It's even though it's half the amount of fast guys as last year, it seems like, I feel like it's still going to be pretty big group up there. You might see a few guys fall off there.
Yeah, and it'll kind of give some guys a better chance to try to make it in the back of that group if guys are dicing it up early or the pace is a little slow. And there might be some guys kind of try to latch on to that group. Some of the newer guys like Gus Rodeo or Joe Lamandry or. So I know it was a quick guest appearance. We just kind of snagged Ashton from the couch. So he's staying out with us at the Airbnb to get a little bit more insight from another reputable source. And I think that we covered our bases, and this is a good kind of first episode. Our apologies if it's not perfect. It's our first go. But I think that we had the right idea here and would love your guys' feedback. If you guys have questions or things you'd like us to cover or talk about on the next episode, please let us know. And also, let us know if you guys put any money on some shit based on our picks. Because I'd really love to know if you really trust me or John like that. Because I can't trust myself on sports gambling. For one, I legally cannot gamble in MotoAmerica, and I do not. Okay, for one, and for two, the little bit of sports gambling I have done has never gone well. I thought for sure my Super Bowl picks were on. I thought for sure my Stanley Cup picks were on. I thought for sure my Four Nations hockey, man. I got a neighbor. Wait, I don't got no neighbor that plays any hockey. Anyway, yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, it's no more. But if you want to do it, and let us know how it goes. I don't condone it.
They're gonna all be mad at you for losing money. They're all gonna hate you.
It's not my fault, man. I'll tell you how to lose money. Go motorcycle racing.
Oh yeah.
And that's your perfect ending. All right.